and big and small again, and still nobody wants me. Hey everyone, it's MostlyActiveGames.com here, and today I'm going to be doing a year-end review for 2018 because 2019 is in
0.
2018 has been very, very weird from a processing the linear passage of time standpoint. On one hand, ever since September, October, time has been going incredibly quickly. I still feel like it's maybe the beginning of October. I don't feel like Halloween happened. I don't feel like Christmas happened, certainly, and that is over. Christmas is over. And that's very weird. December went incredibly fast, and November existed outside of time completely. Anything prior to that was the longest year ever. Here's a couple of movies that came out this year just to help you understand how long it really feels. Black Panther came out earlier this year, so did Love, Simon and Pacific Rim Uprising, all of which feel like they came out maybe 2 years ago. Anyways, without further ado, I will go ahead and first give a quick timeline of my life over 2018 because I love talking about myself. New year, gayer me, and that definitely came true. New year, gayer me, blonde now, got a cool undercut. Did I have the undercut last year? I don't even know if I had the undercut last year. I'm blonde now, I wear makeup now. She's a femme icon. Here she is. Iconic. Skinny. I'm sorry, I apologize. I should not have said skinny. I am embarrassing. This is the year, I'm pretty sure this year is the year that I started seeing a therapist. Do with that information as you will. It is a good thing though, that I started seeing a therapist. I just sort of started exhibiting symptoms last year, so now I'm seeing a therapist. Wow, exciting, cool. I read a bunch of really gay books. Last year was the first year I asked specifically for LGBT+ books for Bookmas, and so I got my wish and read a whole bunch of LGBT+ literature and haven't turned back since. There's very few books that I've read recently that don't have an LGBT+ protagonist, and that's awesome. I'm enjoying that thoroughly. I said I was going to do a webcomic, and then I didn't, for the third time. Maybe fourth. I promise you guys, one day you'll get a webcomic out of me. One day. I've got plots. I've got three ideas for webcomics, and I've got most of those written. Most of those 3 ideas are written out. I just have to like draw them. One day, I promise. I pinky promise, swear across my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. One day you will get a webcomic. That day is just not today. I went to the Women's March for the first time. That was probably the biggest protest that I've ever been to. So that was really cool. As some of you guys might know, I have been going to protests since I was like 8. When I begged my dad to take me down to a protest against police brutality. But that was the biggest one that I've ever been to, and it was awesome and huge and so rad. And it was the Los Angeles Women's March too, which means it was way bigger than the Denver Women's March, which I went to last year. So it was a ton of people rallying for a change, and I really enjoyed being in that environment. It was a big changing thing for me. I gave a really long speech in Seattle. It was the longest speech that I had ever delivered, and it was incredibly stressful, but very fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope that the people in the audience were entertained. I actually can't give you a video of that speech because it was private for a company, but which is a really cool company, by the way. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say who they are, but they were really cool, and they were really nice and gracious, like letting me speak. But I also got to go to Seattle. My dad started a D&D campaign and then didn't do an episode 2. Hopefully you guys will be seeing an episode 2 of that in the following year because I really love playing D&D. I play D&D with my friends a lot. But I don't play with my dad as often as I'd like to, and that's for you guys. The whole concept behind it is that it's going to start really simple with really simple rules and then go into a deeper thing so you can follow along and get used to playing D&D for the first time, sort of through our series. Oh, I did a physical fitness test, which was a nightmare. A surprising thing I can say, I'm more fit this year. I started doing a sport. I saw Black Panther earlier this year, which again, that came out this year? Hello? I saw Black Panther and then started actually caring a little bit about Marvel again, and so now I actually do care a lot about Marvel, especially with Infinity War and Into the Spider-Verse and Thor Ragnarok, which came out last year, but and like Thor Ragnarok and all of that kind of stuff has actually made me start caring about Marvel again. Not to say that I didn't care about Marvel, like I really liked going and seeing Marvel movies and I had an opinion about Marvel, but I did not have feelings as much as I do now. So that's cool. I care about Marvel now. MCU, yeehaw. I was in a few short films. Ain't that bonkers? I was in multiple acting projects. I've been acting for now since about 2 years, so that's kind of cool to say. But that's really cool that I've actually been in like more than one project as an extra since I started, because like it's certainly, acting is one of those things that you don't break out instantly and you don't get a ton of jobs instantly, and so it's cool to see the stuff that I've been in over the year. I cried over Love, Simon on camera, which was a little embarrassing, but I was very emotional about that movie, and I still am very emotional about that movie in the book. The book is right next to me. I have so many emotions. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. I went to an Overwatch League match, which was super awesome. I got to watch people who are really good at Overwatch play Overwatch. Meanwhile, I'm not good at Overwatch, but I do play it a lot and I have a lot of fun. I'm just not very good at it, and so I got to see professionals play at it, and that was super fun. And then I was told that I was just gonna do an interview with my favorite player on the Los Angeles Valiant on that day. And so that was insane. I had just a few hours to put together all of my questions and mentally prepare myself for that interview. But I did that, and that was super cool, and that was an interview that I'm really proud of and I really enjoyed. So I'm glad that happened. My best friend surprised me by coming to California, and that made me very emotional. That was wild. She was in California visiting family, but she did not tell me about it. And so my mom drove me to a house, which she happened to be renting, but I didn't know that. And I opened the door and there she was standing, and that was absolutely wild. And one of the highlights of, honestly, ever, like one of the highlights of my life is that happening. So that happened this year, and it totally also doesn't feel like it happened this year. I feel like it happened last year, but that was super cool and I'm glad that happened. I saw some of my good friends in Palm Springs and it was a great time, and I love hanging out with them. And fun fact, I'm actually gonna hang out with them soon. So that's super cool, and it was the start of seeing them in person a lot more often than I do, and so that's super cool that I'm like hanging out with them a lot now. I went to the Believer premiere. Oh, the Believer premiere was so good. Believer is a documentary created by Dan Reynolds, who you may also know as the frontman of Imagine Dragons. And it is about his mission to have LGBT plus people more accepted in Mormonism, which is I almost said a very valiant effort. I suppose that works. A very valiant effort. And that movie was incredible. I loved that movie so much, as well as it like really reinstilled the fact, reinstilled, is that a word? Whatever. The fact that Imagine Dragons is a fantastic band and is using their popularity for such good things, and like creating Love Loud, which is some of the center of that documentary, and all of that kind of stuff, it really just made my love for Imagine Dragons stronger, and I didn't know that was possible. I was in a Nickelodeon commercial. That was pretty wild. Actually, I was in a gay Nickelodeon commercial. I was in a Nickelodeon commercial for Pride Month, and I had a spot in that, and so that was super cool. I was the What? I was the official Denver Comic Con press correspondent, which was super awesome, and I got to interview a lot of really cool people, and I'm really proud of those interviews, and I thought that I did really well. I got to interview so many amazing people that I'd never thought that I would interview in my lifetime, but I interviewed this year, and so that was awesome. I've said awesome so many times, but it really was. It was awesome, and I enjoyed it so much, and I had such a great time talking to those people. They were all very gracious and very respectful, and respected me as a press correspondent and not just as a kid, which was a really cool thing to experience, and to see them like answer the questions that I thought really hard about and get some really amazing answers out of them. Like, it was not just a really cool gig that I did, but they also had a lot of really important answers to me as a person. I went blonde like right after that. So yeah, now it feels, I love my blonde hair. It is a lot more me than I think the brown ever was. My hair was, I was born blonde, and I think that's something that people don't really know when they watch that video of me dyeing my hair blonde, but I was born blonde. I saw SpongeBob and Be More Chill in New York and also hung out with one of my real good pals, so that was awesome. But I actually saw SpongeBob and Be More Chill with him too, and that was incredible. I love going to New York and seeing musicals. I saw Hamilton last year, and this year I saw Be More Chill and SpongeBob, which was incredible. They were both beautiful, beautiful musicals, and I'm actually hoping that I get to see Be More Chill again once it's on Broadway, but that was the Be More Chill New York iteration, and then I got to see SpongeBob the Musical, which unfortunately is closed now. It was incredible, which sounds like I'm being sarcastic because it's a SpongeBob musical, but it was actually a really heartfelt and well-written musical, as well as Ethan Slater, who played SpongeBob, is just incredible, and there's so many amazing numbers, and Ethan did a lot of really cool, I want to say tricks. They're not really dance moves. He's just, like, he did a lot of physical comedy with his body that was incredible and, like, really weird to watch. I felt like he should have been breaking all of his bones, but he did not. And obviously you guys know my love for Be More Chill. I did a whole podcast on it. Listen to my podcast, please. I did a whole podcast on it with my dad, and it's just one of my favorite musicals ever, and seeing that in real life, again, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. And seeing that in real life was an amazing experience, to see a lot of stuff people have told me about the performance in real life, as well as some surprises that they added in for BMC NYC. It was so good. I loved it. I loved it so dearly. And if you want to go see Be More Chill, if you've been thinking about seeing Be More Chill and you have the resources to do so, do it. It's so good. It is so good. I did a photo shoot at the Black Cat, which was awesome. I had visited Stonewall while I was in New York, and then maybe just like a week after, I went to the Black Cat, so seeing two very, very historical sites in the LGBT+ community right after one another was very awesome, and a really good experience for me to be able to see the history that has made it possible for me to live very openly as a lesbian. So seeing that was really awesome, and being in a photo shoot was actually a super fun experience. I thought I wouldn't enjoy it because I hate being still. As we speak, I'm bouncing my leg. I hate being still, and I don't like striking poses. I always feel super awkward. But it was a really good experience. I had a ton of fun, and I met a lot of really, really amazing people there. I met BexTK, which is still wild. BexTK follows me on Instagram and follows my personal Instagram too, which is just, what's up? The camera just stopped recording on me. So if I'm in a slightly different position, which I am, that's why. I've been a fan of Bex for a really long time now, and so being able to talk to them was super amazing, and they had a lot of really good points to make, and we just had a really nice conversation, so I enjoyed meeting them very much. And we were in a nice, very, very heartwarming, in my opinion, thing about ADHD together, and they certainly helped me a lot with accepting the fact that I am ADHD, because I was quote-unquote diagnosed. My therapist said that I was ADHD this year, and so being able to learn about that and get a lot of advice from them was amazing. Plus I got my very first spinner ring because of them, so that was rad. I started doing roller derby. That's the sport that I started doing, which if you told me last year that I would do a sport this year, I totally wouldn't believe you. But I did start doing roller derby, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not very good at it, but I'm working hard to get better, and I do really enjoy, like, I just genuinely have a good time while I'm at roller derby lessons, and so I'm hoping I can get better, and I will still have a lot of fun. We're currently on break though, so I haven't been in a little bit, but it's a really good experience for me to be able to have a sport that I can kind of put myself into and apply myself to, and it's something that I'm not naturally good at, that I'm working to get better at. And if you guys know me or know my personality at all, I do not like things that I'm not naturally good at, but I have been having a great time with it, and I've been getting better, so that's awesome. I started a new season of my podcast with my mom and my dad now, where we're talking about the first season of Twin Peaks. Listen to my podcast, please. But like, really, I have a really great time doing my podcast, and the second season has been really fun because I have never seen Twin Peaks, and both my parents were really big fans of Twin Peaks, and so watching it and getting to experience it for the first time has been absolutely amazing. Plus, I just have a lot of fun talking to my parents on the podcast and all that kind of stuff. They're always weird, like, spontaneous not spontaneous, but they're always fun conversations because we don't talk to each other about Twin Peaks until we're actually recording. So just like to, you know, save it for the podcast so that everything that we have to say is on the podcast. And so it's really fun to have those conversations after possibly weeks of waiting to talk about these episodes on the podcast. It's a great time and I really enjoy it. So watch my podcast, please. And that's it for the big stuff. There was a lot that happened for me this year. There's a lot that happened for me this year, so it's really difficult to talk about it all. But that was a short overview. Not really that short. That was an overview of some of the stuff that happened to me. So yeah, overall, it was actually a pretty great year for me personally. Wasn't a great year in terms of the world. I mean, it was. Like, obviously the world is getting better at a very rapid rate. There were just a lot of not great things that happened this year, but overall a lot of really, really good things happened this year, and this video is meant to be very positive, looking back at the positive that happened this year. So yeah, it was an awesome year. I had a great time this year, and I'm super duper looking forward to 2019. Maybe it'll actually feel like a regular year this time. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to press the subscribe button down below to see more videos like this, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye! I almost dropped the laptop.